Assalamu alaikum kids. So let's start off with October November 2019. Let's go to question number 1. So question number 1 lab में extension load का graph आएगा probably. So it's a deformation का problem. So let's move on. Measure the length and do not include the loops at each end. So important to read the instructions in the question. So we are not going to include this bit. ठीक है, इस bit को हटा देते हैं. यहाँ से हम अपनी लेंथ लेंगे, यहाँ से हम अपनी लेंथ लेंगे, इस बिट को भी हटा देते हैं. This length right here is what you're going to choose. अब जाहिर सी बात है, I'm just gonna be approximating the length. तो उससे बेहतर ये है ताकि ग्राफ में आगे जाके ये probably use है. Yep, so I need an exact value, so I'll just open up the marking scheme real quick and check what the value is. ठीक है, so the value is 66 millimeters plus or minus 1. So again, that's something that you should be able to measure accurately. So A part 1 measure कर लिया हम लोगों ने. Draw a ruler. तो रूलर आप लेफ्ट पे बनाए, राइट पे बनाए. आगे मेजर करने के लिए आंख बनाने के लिए कहा है, बिल्कुल कहा है. So keeping that in mind, I'm gonna maybe draw the ruler over here. Now 66 millimeters is a very small length. ठीक है, तो आप रूलर जो है वो थोड़ा सा एक्सटेंड कर दोगे, like so. Okay, you're going to draw a ruler like this, maybe slightly above, ताकि वो dead space ना आ जाए. ठीक है, and you're going to mark the eye with an X over here. It says mark X the position of the student's eye. So you don't need to make the eye, you just gotta mark it. So we did that. So 1, 2, and 3 done. So length आ गई. Correct position of the ruler, we did that as well. And we also did the marking of the eye. Next, आपको ग्राफ बनाना है. State one way to improve the results. तो 1 के बाद 3, 5 आगे. Oh, interesting. So essentially, one way of improving this would be that 2, the 4, the reading 2 should be in between 1 and 3. The reading 4 should be in between 3 and 5. So correct order would be one way of improving it. Another way of improving you can think of is कि खैर यहाँ पे तो सीक्वेंस में नहीं है, बट अगर सीक्वेंस में होता और तब भी इसको इम्प्रूव करने का क्वेश्चन कहता तो आई वुड हैव एडेड the length of the spring at 0. Okay, what was the initial length of the spring? I definitely would have added that. So we need to draw L. Capital L is the load and small l, which is the spring length on the x-axis. तो ठीक है, आपके पास load जो है वो 1 से लेके 5 तक है. And you need to draw from the origin on both. So again, whenever you are drawing a graph, you need to be on the look of the instruction for the instruction where the question says where you need to start your graph. कभी कभार क्वेश्चन ज़्यादातर क्वेश्चन दे देता है, कभी कभार क्वेश्चन नहीं भी देता. तो again, it really depends on what the question wants. So we've got 0 and 0. So how many boxes do we have on the y? So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5.5. So I'm just gonna go with one box is 1 Newton. Okay. Of course, you don't need to mark the 5.5 because you don't have a reading for 5.5. This is load in newtons. And then on the length side, length we've got from 66 to 198. So let's say for example 60 to 200. We need 140. Okay, so how many boxes do we have? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8.5 boxes. Alright, so अगर मैं 20 के हिसाब से जाता हूँ तो I will only be able to do 170. So I'm gonna have to go more than 20. So maybe then 25 is what I need to go with. So 25, 50, 75, 100. And then we have 125, 150, 175, and then 200. This right here would be the most appropriate. इसमें आप जाहिर सी बात है 40 degrees 40 भी ले सकते हो, but that is going to restrict your graph a lot to a very small space. क्योंकि technically you're only going to be drawing from 160 to 198. अब अगर मैं इसको 40 पे लेता हूँ तो my graph is going to go all the way till 300 and 200 is going to be somewhere over here and 60 is going to be somewhere over here. तो वो बहुत ही एक छोटे एरिया के ऊपर आपका ग्राफ बन रहा होगा. So 25 is better. Of course, बाकी कोई भी मैं अगर लेंथ लेता हूँ, I'm gonna have to mark in decimals anyway. So in the middle of boxes, I'll have to mark. So might as well just do it with this, where my graph is going to be a good length. So once we have that, अब जो है ग्राफ प्लॉट करना शुरू करते हैं. तो at 1 it's 66. So at 1 it's going to be this right here is 55. Okay, so 10 and 25. So at 2 it's going to be 5. So 55, 60, 65, 70. So 66 is going to be somewhere over here. ठीक है. अब जाहिर सी बात है, you're gonna have to approximate to the middle of the box because there's 65 over here, there's 70 over here. So in between in the two boxes, there's like 2.5 boxes, 2.5 points. So somewhere towards the 65 region is where you're going to mark the 66. Then we've got 2 by 100. So at 2 we've got exactly 100. So that's good. That's an exact point. At 3 we've got a 130. So that should be good as well. At 3 we've got a 125. The 130's got to be somewhere over here. Then you've got at 4 you have a 163. So 163 is going to be a problem. So 155, 160, 163 is going to be somewhere over here. ठीक है? नहीं. So you've got 160 over here, you've got 165 over here, 170, the 165 is over here, the 163 must be somewhere here. And then we have 5 and 198. So 5 and 198, that's 200, so this is 195, this is 195, this is 200, so 198 must be somewhere over here. ठीक है जी. We need to draw a line of best fit. So a line of best fit would be a line that passes through all of them, or most of them rather. So let's see if I can draw a line like that. Okay. So I'm gonna have to draw a little steeper. Okay, so I like this line much better. ठीक है. It's passing through 1, it's passing through 2, and it's passing through 3. 3 points के through pass कर रहा है. And then of course it's this point is slightly above this point is slightly below. Let's move it a little bit here. तो वो इस पॉइंट के थ्रू भी जा रहा है, इस पॉइंट के थ्रू भी जा रहा है, ये ऊपर है, ये भी स्लाइटली ऊपर है, ये नीचे है. इसको थोड़ा सा इधर ले आते हैं. So yeah, I like this one. Cool. I like this line. ये पॉइंट ऊपर जा रहा है, ये पॉइंट नीचे जा रहा है, बाकी the remaining 3 points are on the line. So good. I like this one. Done. ठीक है जी. नेक्स्ट पार्ट पे आ जाते हैं. स्टेट whether L is directly proportional. तो of course it will not be directly proportional. Why? Because your line is not passing through the origin. अगर मैं इसको थोड़ा सा extend करता हूँ तो it's gonna be passing through. That's 20, that's 30, 32.5, 32.5 से थोड़ा ऊपर. So maybe it's gonna pass through 33. Maybe it asks you for the original length later. So no. Of course, that's a no. That's a big no. Does not pass through origin. Does not pass through origin. Again, I have a habit of writing does not together for some reason. Correct way of writing does not would be separately. So, khair. Use your graph to determine L naught, the unstretched length. We did that and we are getting somewhere around 33, 34 maybe. तो again marking scheme में आप देख सकते हैं कि भाई There would be a correct value with a range. So let's hope that this 33 lies in the range. Use your graph in figure 1.2 to determine extension E of the load at 3.6 newtons. So 3.6 newtons is going to be somewhere over here. So हम इसको extend कर देते हैं. When the question says use the graph, you need to draw this dotted line. And we are getting an exact 150 over here. Almost an exact 150 over here. So आप 150 assume करें. Alright. Now the initial length is 33, so you subtract the 33. The question only wants your extension, not the length of the spring. So this right here is going to be 150 minus 33, and that's going to give me 113 approximately. 33, so 117 approximately, 117 millimeters. अब आप 117 दें, जाहिर सी बात है क्वेश्चन ग्राफ से एग्जैक्ट वैल्यू की बात कर रहा है, तो you're not going to round this off. On the axis, draw sketch a graph of L against E. So L against E is going to pass through the origin, of course, and it's just one mark, so it's going to be a straight line passing through the origin. That's the important part. तो इस वजह से आप जो है वो ये कहेंगे कि भाई this is how the graph is going to look like. Then the question says the gradient measures the greater the force, the harder the second spring has unstretched length, but a greater force constant. So gradient जो है वो ज़्यादा होगा. That's what the question says. The gradient measures the force constant. Greater the force constant, harder it is to stretch the spring. Question says okay, it has a greater. So the question says that the second spring has a greater force constant. Using the draw a line to show how the length of the spring changes as loads are added to it. So again, you're going to have a straight line. कहाँ पे बनाना है? 1.2. तो यहाँ पे बनाना है. So maybe you're going to draw something like this with a much steeper gradient. And that's pretty much it. Okay? So I hope this question makes sense. So again, you're going to draw a straight line. And of course, this right here is not a straight line. But आप जो है वो straight line draw करेंगे. So let's draw a straighter one. So your graph is going to be something like this. Maybe you're going to have a slightly steeper gradient or slope. And it's still going to be a straight line nonetheless. Alright, so I hope that all of that makes sense. Question number 2 पर आ जाते हैं. Student performance experiment to measure the density of water. Record the mass m of the test tube to 3 significant figures. So this right here is going to be 13. Oopsie daisy. So 13.6 grams. Pours, blah blah blah. Shows the reading. Read and record the new water level V2 in the measuring cylinder. So आपके पास initial volume दिया हुआ है? Yes, so highlight that. That's important. Initial was 65. The new is, so this right here is in between. So this right here is going to be 70, 72, 74, 76, 78 or 80 के बीच में. So of course it's going to be what? It's going to be 79 centimeters cubed. Calculate the increase in volume. So difference निकालेंगे 79 minus 65. That's going to be equals to 14 centimeter cubed. And suggest one source of experimental inaccuracy in reading the scale on the measuring cylinder. So of course, इससे पहले भी बहुत सारे questions के अंदर the question asks you to make an eye which has to be perpendicular. So we are going to say that a line of sight not perpendicular to the scale. ठीक है? That could be one way of that would be one source of an experimental inaccuracy. The second thing you could say would be कि जाहिर सी बात है जब हम measuring cylinders, test tubes वगैरह के अंदर कहीं पे भी reading लेते हैं तो the meniscus of water, so wrong meniscus, मेरे ख्याल में meniscus की spelling में M-E आता है. So wrong meniscus read, that could be a source of error. ठीक है? So these two right here are what you're going to suggest. Okay, theory suggests that the density of water is given by the equation. User answers in A and B. State the unit of your answers. So A and B part 2. B part 2 के अंदर this right here is the volume and the mass was 13.6 grams. So you've got 13.6. So the density is mass upon volume. So 13.6 divided by what? 13.6 divided by 0.14. तो नहीं 14 centimeters है कितना है 14 centimeter cube है ठीक है all right. So this right here is going to be 14. So I'm of course gonna have to use a calculator to figure that out. But your answer must be somewhere in the vicinity of 0.98. So 13.6 divided by 14. So my answer is 97.14. So I'm just gonna go with 0.97. या 971 ठीक है यहाँ पर आंसर आपको 3 SF पे देने का बोला है तो यहाँ पर भी आप आंसर जो है वो 3 SF पे ही देंगे ठीक है Moving on to question number 3, student investigates the resistance. So again, you've got a potentiometer like problem, reading, blah, blah, blah. Read the voltmeter scale, record in 3.1. So voltmeter scale would be 0.5 till here. So 0.4, 0.3, 0.2, 0.1. So yeah, so it's going to be 0.1, 0.2, 0.21, I'm guessing is going to be the correct answer. So the potential difference is 0.21. Calculate the resistance of the current आपको पता है voltage आपको पता है तो the resistance is going to be what its potential difference divided by current so you're going to get somewhere in the vicinity of 0.84. Yep, I'm guessing at 0.84. ठीक है Then the question says, okay, the student repeats the procedure for 20 and 40, records her results. Look, with the limits of experiment suggests the relationship between L and R. So approximately doubling the length doubles the potential and doubles the resistance. So I'm going to say, okay, they maybe are directly proportional to each other. Why? Because doubling the length will double the resistance R. So directly proportional. So these must be directly proportional. So suggest a relation. So the relation suggested is directly proportional. Why? As L is doubled. आप लिख दें from 0.21 to 0.41 R also doubles approximately. Again, we are talking about approximate answers from 0.84 to 1.64. ठीक है वैल्यूज देना मेरे ख्याल में ज़रूरी नहीं है बट अगर आप वैल्यू दे भी दें तो that's not a big problem. Then you've got part C. The student notices that the wire is warm at the end of the investigation. Describe one precaution that the student can take to minimize the heating effect. तो जाहिर सी बात है in between readings आप switch off कर देंगे. So switch off the circuit in between readings. So a fairly simple solution to the problem. ठीक है कोई कूलिंग इफेक्ट भी आप यूज़ कर सकते हो तो मे भी आपने जो है अब जाहिर सी बात है we may be able to use some form of a cooling effect from a fan. So maybe use a fan to cool the circuit, use a fan to cool the circuit. So your physical factors like air, humidity and all of that stuff, आपके wires सारे insulated होते हैं तो it does not necessarily affect your working. आपके phones वगैरह सारे cooled ही होते हैं ना तो there's some form of cooling effect going on anyways. आपके PCs के अंदर पंखे लगे होते हैं आपके जितने भी इस तरह की electronics होती हैं everything has a fan to cool the circuit down. So that's exactly what we are going to use here as well. I'm guessing that was question number 4. नहीं, अच्छा question number 4 अब आएगा. All right. So question number 4 says okay, we've got a student investigates the refraction of light by a right-angled prism, glass prism WXY uses ray box, blah blah blah. Student uses again blah blah blah. Draw a normal to the prism at point Z. Z पर normal बनाना would be drawing. Again आप जो है वो accurately बना सकते हैं using a protractor. I don't have one right now on me. Use a ruler to draw the path of the ray from Z until it emerges from the prism. तो अब जाहिर सी बात है आप यहाँ पे एंगल लेंगे and maybe the question mentions something about all right. Okay, interesting. So I'm thinking it's going to reflect, it's going to come over here, it's going to reflect, and then it's going to pass through P and 4. So something along these lines. So use a ruler to draw the path of ray from until it emerges. Describe the overall effect of the prism on the direction of the ray. So क्या कहते हैं makes the ray go in opposite direction. So makes the ray go in opposite direction. In the opposite direction. That's the effect. Reflects it and makes it go back into the opposite direction. ठीक है तो आप देखें यार ये तीन सवाल जो हैं इज दैट द एंड यप दैट्स द एंड तो आप देखें ये तीन सवाल अगर मैं क्वेश्चन पूरा पढ़ने के चक्कर में जाऊंगा तो दैट्स नॉट गोइंग टू डू मी गुड अब 1 घंटे का क्वेश्चन था 1 घंटे का जो है वो आपका पेपर है हमें डिस्कस करने में कितना टाइम लगा it took us 21 minutes 22 minutes barely to discuss the whole paper. Right, so again, don't take a lot of time doing stuff that you don't really have to. तो अगर आप फजूल में टाइम ज़ाया नहीं करेंगे तो आपका काम काफ़ी जल्दी हो जाएगा इवन दो कि हमें इतनी को ख़ास जल्दी पड़ी नहीं है बट फिर भी जस्ट सेइंग डोंट वेस्ट योर टाइम ज़रूरी नहीं है कि बैठ के आप जो है वो पूरा क्वेश्चन पढ़ें बिकॉज जाहिर सी बात है एग्ज़ाम प्रेशर होता है सारी चीज़ें होती हैं अब अगर मुझे लेट्स से फॉर एग्जांपल 20 मिनट लग रहे हैं सॉल्व करते हुए एक्सप्लेन करने में तो आपको हो सकता है प्रॉब्ली again, you need to check how long it takes you to solve a P4. So take P4s, solve them, get an average time of how long it takes you to solve a P4, and figure out what your technique is going to be. कि आप questions जो है वो रीड थ्रू करेंगे या नहीं करेंगे whatever works for you better right हमारा गोल ये नहीं है कि बैठ के हमें टाइम बचाना है हमारा गोल ये है we need to make sure that we don't make any mistakes and we get the maximum score that's possible so we do that by being careful तो let's say for example अगर आप 15 मिनट में पेपर जो है वो कंप्लीट कर रहे हैं that does not achieve anything right तो 15 मिनट में वो पेपर करने का कोई ख़ास फ़ायदा नहीं है क्या करेंगे बाकी पौना घंटा बैठे रहेंगे तो बेहतर ये है कि आप एट दैट पॉइंट आप जो है वो थोड़ा सा properly read through करो if you are able to get it done like 15-20 minutes but on the other hand let's say for example if it takes you like around 40 to 45 minutes to write now मतलब without a pressure situation let's say for example it takes you 40 to 45 minutes to solve a particular paper on average and जाहिर सी बात है examination hall के अंदर it's probably going to take you longer तो फिर आपने you need to worry about how to save time in that case because you cannot just finish the paper with 5 minutes left at hand. That's not enough. You need to review your papers thoroughly, making sure that you don't make any silly mistakes. तो आपका गोल ये होना चाहिए कि यार 35 to 40 minutes. ठीक है 35 to 40 minutes is the maximum you have to solve the paper. Now, explaining, I was able to do that in like 20-21 minutes. तो जाहिर सी बात है आप अगर सिर्फ सॉल्व कर रहे होंगे तो 30 से 40 मिनट के अंदर जो है वो आपका पेपर सुकून से सॉल्व हो जाना चाहिए प्रैक्टिस चाहिए होगी जाहिर सी बात है आई मीन प्रैक्टिस ऑफ सॉल्विंग दीज पेपर्स मुझसे जल्दी हो गया आप प्रैक्टिस करेंगे आपसे भी जल्दी हो जाएगा ठीक है तो आई होप दैट मेड सेंस टू एवरीवन टेक केयर बच्चास I'll see you in the next paper. Bars out.